Hello, I'm Dr. Gareth Moore and I'm the author of this, 404, the interactive puzzle book. This is the original Kickstarter edition, and this is the version that's been on Amazon for quite a while now, which is slightly refined compared to the original one. And I've already gone through codes 1 to 6, so if you haven't seen that already, then you might want to check the other videos. They're listed in the description down below here. But today we're going to look at codes 7, 8 and 9. This is 7, this is 8, this is 9. So why not start with code 7? It's as good a place to start as any. So what we have here is pictures of, well, these clearly represent planets in the solar system. They can see they're concentric around a central area. This is presumably the sun. And if we count, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we've got 9. Okay, so presumably it includes Pluto, no longer classified as a planet. And this is the third ring, it's Earth, it's grey. So at the bottom, it's all Greek to me. And that does seem to be working, because over here we've got lots of Greek gods. Uranus, Aphrodite, Ares, Zeus, Kronos, Hades, Hermes and Poseidon. And there's also here a barcode that just takes you to a website, which will look like this. Well, actually, in particular, it will take you to the code. This is code 7, so it will take you to this page here if you scan that. We don't need that for now. That's where we're going to type our answer, but it does let you have hints if you aren't sure what to do. Here's a hint. Those are planets on the left. And a dwarf planet. Well, there we go. So we'll get rid of that for now. Now, you might not know what all of these are, because why? Well, why would you necessarily? But we know they're Greek. One thing that seems to me you might do is look them up in the dictionary. So we can do just that. Let's look up, for example, Aphrodite. Say, for example, I know that Aphrodite is a Greek god, but I don't know much about her. Oh, there we go, look. Now you can see, if you see our eyes pointy, yes, she is the Roman equivalent of Venus. Now, one thing we know about Venus is it is a planet. So we know Aphrodite is Venus. I'm just going to write that on here so I don't get confused. And now what else is there? Well, Ares I know is Mars. Zeus, I have no idea. Let's try Zeus. So what I'm looking up here is it turns out that each of the Greek gods has a Roman equivalent, because in particular the Romans were very influenced by Greeks, and they named the gods themselves. They renamed the Greek gods. That's my understanding. If you're a classic scholar and that's rubbish, please do feel free to correct me. I would be happily corrected. Now, Kronos, I have a feeling is Saturn. It is Saturn, you can see here. So these are less well-known names for planets, because they're what the Greeks would have got. Hades, I know, is Pluto, god of the underworld. Hermes is Mercury, the messenger. And then Poseidon, I don't know. I'm guessing it would be... Actually, let's just not guess. Let's look it up. It is Neptune, that's right. And then Uranus, I know, is just an alternate spelling of an actual Greek god, Uranus. Right, so let's get rid of that dictionary. Okay, so now what do? We've identified the planets. Well, let's identify them on this side too. So it's Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. It's right, isn't it? So we clearly have a correspondence. And what are we going to do with that correspondence? Well, there are some letters floating around, and we're looking for a word to put here. We know it's one word because there's only one underline. So it would be good if we could somehow select these letters. And one thing you might try, and it will help with you've done this sort of puzzle before, but you might try joining them in some way. And the simplest, most obvious way to join them is with a straight line. So, for example, here is Mars. Let's try joining that to Ares. And if you do, it probably doesn't take you much imagination to see we have gone through this C. Now, we don't know if we're eliminating letters and then looking at what's left over, assuming we're correct, or we're actually selecting letters. The only way we can really work this out is by carrying on and seeing if something happens, seeing if something helpful occurs. Now, it's worth saying, you might wonder, how do I know what to do? Well, the answer is, with this sort of puzzle, you don't know what to do. You have to guess. You have to, I say guess, you have to work out what would be sensible, what maybe is motivated in some way, and have a go, see what happens. So here's Aphrodite to Venus. We're selecting this E, aren't we? And then once we've done that, we'll see what we've got, what's selecting these letters. But basically, you just have to have a go and try something you think is sensible and see if it's working out. And if it isn't working out, I imagine that's meant to be the E. Then, well, try something else. And if you're still stuck, have a look at the solutions, or have a look at the hints if there are hints. If there aren't hints, get someone else to look at the solutions for you. And for 404, there are hints. And having the solution wouldn't necessarily help you, because it doesn't necessarily on its own. If it's just a word, you wouldn't know where it came from. You actually need a hint or an explanation to know what to do. Now, these videos are providing explanations. So here's Pluto down here. So this is quite clearly, I'm on the right tracks, because each one is very neatly, with the exception here where I slightly missed. Each one is quite neatly selecting a letter. Mercury is up here, so I shall join Mercury to the word that represents Mercury, which is Hermes. And I've arbitrarily chosen the start of the word. In fact, that's probably why I'm missing the letter slightly, because if I'd joined to the middle, that would have worked better. Yes, particularly for here, wouldn't it? It would have worked. So joining to the middle of the word was clearly what was in mind when it was written. Right, have I joined all of them? 1, 2, how many are there? I haven't joined Neptune, who's over here and here. And Poseidon. Right, so there we go. So we've got an N. And what letters have we got? E, E, C, U, M, O, E, N. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, we've not got Earth. That doesn't look like an anagram of a word, does it? What about the leftover letters? SK, no, they don't look very good either. One thing I could do, bearing in mind that I'm expecting possibly Greek, and it does say at the start of the book, words familiar to Plato. I think it's Plato. I had this discussion in the previous video, didn't I? If you watched it, yeah, Plato would be acceptable, but it means specifically words that are also English words, even if they're obscure. In fact, I seem to remember, I wrote this book years ago, this puzzle has a fairly obscure English word that is of Greek origin as its solution. And was that unfair? Yes, probably it was. But let's move these words on to the planets and see if this helps, because perhaps we can read them in the order of the planets. So we've got E, C, what was this? This was an O. So we've got O, E, C. Let me just write this down in order the planets coming in. O, E, C. Yeah, I would think I was wrong doing this, but U on Jupiter. Kronos for Saturn selected as an M. Okay, this isn't looking very too positive, I've got to be honest. An E. And then here is an N. And finally we have an E. Ecumene. Well, it's kind of a plausible sentence, a sequence of letters. I think we can possibly try looking it up in a dictionary. Let's do that. Ecumene. Did I spell that correct? Oh, there we go. It is a word, but it's only in this fuller English dictionary. Ecumene. How's it pronounced? Let's have a listen.
Ecumene.
Ecumene. The inhabited world as known to particular civilizations, specifically the ancient Greeks. The Greeks and their neighbours regarded in the context of development in human society. It basically means ecumenical. It's related to ecumenical. To do with the gods, then. So it's quite an apt word. Is it too obscure? Well, yes, it is kind of obscure, but to be fair, you can also just type it into the website and see if you're correct. Ecumene. There we go. Congratulations, you found even a match made in heaven and cracked code 7. Go to the next code. Right. So there we go. Right, now this next one is actually slightly lost in the join of the book, but you can hopefully see that the lines continue, or at least they are intended to continue across the spread. Okay, so what have we got here? Well, it looks a bit like a circuit diagram. There's a sort of tech theme to this book. Right, well, have I still got that thing that says code 8 on screen? Let's get rid of that. Right, I don't think I'm going to read that rule again. Let's get rid of that. Well, what have we got here? There was no text on here at all, apart from the letters, and where it says code 8. We know we're looking for one word. So the first thing I noticed here, years after I wrote it, not really remembering how it works, is that there are what appear to be little white start points here and grey end points here. And the reason I think this is probably a start and this is probably an end is because these have letters, and I expect I'm creating letters. And in particular, probably with these codes here. Although now as I say that is a lot of codes to work out. So I'm not very patient. So I don't think I would expect you to solve so many codes. Oh, look, only some of them have the white dot at the start. So I think what we're doing is we're finding the paths that match the symbol sequences and then getting the letters at the end. And in particular, I can see that every single sequence starts with a white dot. So I can ignore this, this, and this. In particular, I don't even know if you could find these in there. Is there a sequence with 2 squares? And that symbol, I cannot see that on the page. So no, I don't think you can do that. Let's start with this one. So looking for this symbol. Well, they all start like that. They're all by here, apart from there and here. And alongside that, we then have 2 of those symbols that way. Well, that's not it, because there's only one. Oh, here's one. go traces of here, we have an H. So I think that is an H. Now, where can I find this symbol? Circle with a triangle to the right, and then a square. Oh, look here, triangle, square, another triangle. That's looks like a 4. But the rest are letters, so I assume it's a Y. Hyper something is possible. That's the symbol we have here. Does that go to a square as well? Yes, down here. P, okay, so hype. So this is plausible. Okay, a circle and that symbol and a square. Does that go? Yeah, square here. It's an E. So what I've done, in case it's not clear, I am trying to find a path that traces these symbols and going right to the end. Perhaps it would have been clearer if these had the little grey dot on the end as well. Anyway, by here, that's very similar to what we've already seen. Does that go along here? That to this symbol, it's an R, right? Here, square, is that it? No. Here? Yes, look back here to a square, to that X, to the symbol is an I, and then here to a triangle, and then to a square. Yeah, well, I can't get through another triangle, so let's do here, it's an O. And then this one is just that symbol on its own. Is that it? No. Where is it? Here? Oh, yeah, N. It's this one, right? So I've got Hyperion, which I have heard of. Well, they don't ask me what Hyperion means. I guess I can look it up, can't I? Ecumene, let's try Hyperion. Oh, there we go. A satellite of Saturn, the 16th closest to the planet, discovered in 1848, having an irregular shape, named after a titan of Greek mythology. There we go. So Hyperion is a thing, but I'd heard the word before. I think probably from Babylon 5 or something. Is there Hyperion Babylon 5? Am I imagining that? It's a sci-fi show from now, very long ago. Anyway, congratulations, you followed the correct paths to crack code 8. Okay, let's go on to the next code, 9. The last one I'm going to do in this video. Remember to review your environment. Right, what have we got here? A ticket with a stub torn off. Scan for entry, scan for sandwiches. Making space for criminal liquidation and sandwiches. Includes live preview, new waste disposal system. That's mildly menacing. Lecture hall 101, standing room at bit 1. Standing. Now, I've seen this sort of thing before. What you need to do with this, you just kind of need to have seen this sort of thing before, think about it, is notice that this isn't really a barcode. This is not a very good barcode. If we look a bit more closely, you'll see that there's got funny little glitches on it. And the reason for that is that those glitches are actually letters. What is particularly unusual about this book is that this is not letters. These are not letters, pardon my grammar. But if you combine them together, they become letters. Look at that. It says, okay, problem with the focus there. But it says letter to, it's quite clear to the eye. And that you really can't read. Each, you can just try to read that. Each word, lines 1, 2, 3. If I tilt this at too much of an angle, you can probably see lines 1, 2, 3. Word, each. It's quite hard to make out. But it's not so hard to make out in person. It's just that on the camera, it doesn't really want to focus. There are multiple depths at the same time, and I have it close enough you can see it. Now, interestingly, in the original printing of the book, it's not quite the same. You see, the Kickstarter edition, it was a lot more dense. I thought it looked more barcodey, but I decided afterwards it was just confusing. And it's the same thing, but it says it multiple times. It says letter 2 lines 1, 2, 3, letter 2 lines 1, 2, 3. So I just made that. That's something that only came with Kickstarter. It's a secret letter. Came in the Kickstarter version of the book. Right, so, yes, what do we do here? Letter 2, lines 1, 2, 3. Okay, so letter 2, each word, lines 1, 2, 3. We've got A, R. Is this line 3? Is letter 2 an A? Era. No, Ara, I can't read. It says each word, though. A, P, O, R, I. What have we got? We've got, Aporia, right? A, P, O, R, I, A. Yeah, and I think the clue that was in the original Kickstarter edition was not quite as clear, was it? But this one says each word, so it's more, it doesn't require as much thinking. So we spelled the word aporia, which, again, I'm not entirely clear what it means. Just look up aporia. Is it something to do with, there's a film called Aporia that came out in 2023, I think. An irresolvable internal contradiction or logical disjunction in the text, argument, or theory. The expression of doubt in a rhetorical sense from the Greek, poros, impassable. Well, there we go. Now we know. Right, now where's my mouse pointer? It's over there. So I can switch across to this here and type in aporia, and I presume that is the answer. Okay, congratulations, you've scanned your barcodes and cracked code 9. So there we go. Some actually quite hard puzzles, I think, but that's 404. This is the version that's on Amazon. This is the version that was originally on Kickstarter. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. In a future video, we will look at some of the following puzzles. There's this one here in the office. Maybe the next video I'll look at these next 3. I haven't decided yet. There we go. That's 404. And until I see you in a future video, please, if you would like to comment, please do so down below. That would be great. If you'd like to like or subscribe, that's even better. But otherwise, it's not better than commenting. I mean, commenting is fantastic. It's just as good. But otherwise, until I see you in a future video, all that remains for me to say take care and goodbye.